DC Comics recently announced a relaunch of Vertigo, their groundbreaking 90s imprint that was once home to Sandman, Swamp Thing, Animal Man, and other works that broke boundaries and shattered the perception of what a comic book could be. The smash hit Border Town was the first of 7 new series to be released under the new Vertigo, and coming up next is Hex Wives. We spoke to writer Ben Blacker and artist Mirka Andolfo about their upcoming comic book and why their story of suppressed suburban witchcraft is more relevant than ever in 2018.
Hex Wives is Bewitched meets the Stepford Wives. It is about a powerful coven of witches who is being held as suburban housewives against their will and knowledge. What it's really about is the insidious ways that fearful men try to control women.
Blacker, known as the co-creator of the Thrilling Adventure Hour and for his work on shows like Supernatural, was inspired by the lack of logic in one of his favorite 60s sitcoms, Bewitched.
I happened to be, flipping through the channels and I caught an episode of Bewitched, and I got to thinking that it's crazy that Samantha Stevens, Elizabeth Montgomery's character, was this super powerful witch who was married to a suburban ad man, and her mother would come around all the time and tell her she married beneath her. And it's true, she married beneath her. Like, she could have been running the world.
In today's tumultuous times, Hex Wives is deconstructing the imbalance of power that exists between genders, imagining a world where a coven of immortal witches battled the all-male architects for centuries, only to be stripped of their memories and forced to live a humdrum suburban life, unaware of the power they possess.
The gender politics of Hex Wives addresses something that's always been there. We have this built-in patriarchy. I'm not writing about violence. I'm writing about the more insidious ways that men try to control women. My wife, my sisters, my mother, the women in my life were dealing with this stuff every single day, and they weren't experiencing the world, obviously, in the same way that I was.
As a way to counter the same inequality that exists within the world of comics, Ben made sure that his story would be told with help from voices with different perspectives than his own.
When I pitched the book, I did tell Mark Doyle, the Vertigo editor, that it was important to me that in order to tell this story honestly, we have as many women's voices on the book as we could, and that started with our editors, Molly and Maggie, who are incredible collaborators, and they brought in Mirka, who has made the book even better than I could have imagined.
Italian artist Mirka Andolfo's expressive European style brings a level of emotion and sensuality to the story.
Hex Wives is a great book because the story is very appealing, and because there are very strong women and very interesting characters. They are very particular and are not that those women are very common, are girls like me, like others in the streets, and so I think I can really feel very near to those characters, and it's very fun to draw also with the witches and that kind of stuff. It's very cool.
Vertigo is all about challenging norms. It was one of the first comic imprints to tackle sex and queerness in a mature way, and Hex Wives is no different.
Sex in this world was something that I was afraid of tackling, and Mirka loves to draw sexy stuff.
Yeah.
And so she really emboldened me to address that issue. I mean, these are women who are being controlled by these men. They're literally brainwashed by them. And so we had to sort of figure out what that means in the day-to-day. To the men, these witches are not even objects, monsters. They're monsters. So they don't, to the men it would be disgusting to have sex with them. So we had to figure out a way to sort of navigate that relationship while also keeping up the appearance of this, 1950s suburban household.
The original Vertigo's impact is still felt in nearly every mainstream comic today, and as vanguards of the new relaunch, the creators of Hex Wives are well aware of the promise and possibilities that label brings with it.
Before DC Comics, I started with Vertigo, and now it's like I come back in some way, and it's very nice, and Vertigo has so many cool characters.
Vertigo has always been known for ambitious storytelling. I loved Fables, I loved Preacher, I loved Sandman, Why the Last Man, one of my all-time favorites. And I think the new relaunch is taking that ambitious storytelling that the original line was known for And it's letting writers who are passionate about a story to tell those stories. And I think that's why we're seeing otherwise maybe marginalized groups or underrepresented groups being represented in the Vertigo line, because finally these creators are getting the chance to tell a story that they are passionate about.
Blacker and Andolfo have big plans for Hex Wives, and if you're interested in diving into their world and supporting their story, the first issue will be available at your local comic shop on, appropriately enough, Halloween.
Hex Wives is out on Halloween. Get it via readdc.com, get it on Comixology, or visit your local comic book shop. They need your business. And we do too, because we want to do 100 issues of this book, so please pick it up.
Thanks for watching the first of our New York Comic Con coverage. We've got so many cool interviews. We got Peter Jackson, Todd McFarlane, my favorite Phil Lamar, and more. So leave a comment. Let us know what you think of Hex Wives and who you think we should interview more in the future. And as always, please subscribe to Now This Nerd.